The silhouette of the British monarchy has always been cast in an aura of unyielding duty, a timeless commitment passed down through generations where personal desires are traditionally surrendered to the service of the crown. For centuries, the public has looked at the royal family through a lens of reverence, expecting an absolute dedication that transcends the ordinary boundaries of daily life. The grand palaces, the glittering ceremonies, and the meticulously orchestrated public appearances all serve to reinforce a narrative of tireless service to the nation. Behind the ancient stone walls of Windsor and the imposing gates of Buckingham Palace, an intricate machine operates daily to maintain the flawless illusion of an institution that never sleeps. Every handshake, every ribbon cutting, and every official engagement is counted and catalogued, serving as tangible proof of a monarchical contract with the British people. This silent agreement demands that those born into extreme privilege must repay their debt through constant visibility, showing themselves to be active, industrious, and entirely devoted to their public roles. It is a demanding rhythm that has defined the lives of the modern royals, creating a standard by which every member of the House of Windsor is ruthlessly judged by the press and the public alike. To maintain this delicate balance, individual preferences must routinely take a back seat to the relentless schedule of state events, charity visits, and official receptions that populate the royal calendar year after year. Yet, beneath this polished exterior of tradition and perpetual motion, subtle shifts are beginning to alter the very fabric of the contemporary royal landscape. In recent years, a quiet transformation has been taking place within the inner circles of the family, sparking an intense conversation about the true nature of modern royal obligations. As the older generation of royals continues to carry out their duties with a traditional, almost military-like precision, the younger members are increasingly exploring a different approach to their roles. This divergence has created a palpable undercurrent of tension, a quiet debate whispering through the corridors of power regarding how much a royal prince should give to the public versus how much he should reserve for his private existence. The public image of a modern prince is no longer just about standing on a balcony or delivering a formal speech. It is increasingly intertwined with contemporary ideas of family, personal well-being, and modern leadership styles. If you are intrigued by these evolving dynamics and want to explore what truly happens behind the closed doors of the world's most famous family, take a brief moment right now to subscribe to this channel and ensure you never miss our deep investigations into the secrets of the British Crown. This shifting paradigm raises fundamental questions about the future survival of the institution itself, as the traditional metrics of royal work face a quiet but profound challenge from within the palace walls. The modern expectation of a royal heir is inherently paradoxical, requiring a delicate balancing act between historical duty and 21st century relatability. On one hand, the public demands a figure who represents stability, tradition, and an unwavering commitment to the nation's cultural fabric through constant public service. On the other hand, there is a growing desire to see a modern family leader who prioritizes the emotional health and stability of his immediate household, shielding his loved ones from the intense pressures that previously destroyed royal marriages. This dual expectation creates a natural point of friction, particularly when the numbers used to measure official productivity begin to tell a surprisingly complicated story. For decades, the sheer volume of public engagements was seen as the definitive measure of a royal's value to the nation, an objective scorecard displayed annually for public review. When those numbers begin to lag significantly behind the tireless output of older relatives, questions inevitably arise about dedication, work ethic, and the future trajectory of the monarchy. The contrast becomes even more pronounced when viewed against the backdrop of an aging king who, despite facing significant personal challenges and health vulnerabilities, continues to embrace his public calendar with an almost frantic energy, demonstrating a traditional zeal that leaves younger generations far behind. This emerging gap in public participation has not escaped the watchful eyes of veteran observers, historians, and authors who specialize in decoding the hidden signals of palace life. For those who study the inner workings of the royal financial and operational apparatus, the official court circular provides an indisputable record of who is showing up and who is pulling back. When a future monarch appears to step away from the traditional, localized duties that have long formed the bedrock of royal popularity, a vacuum is created that is quickly filled by speculation and critical analysis. The traditional approach to royal duties involved a relentless cycle of small-scale domestic events, from opening community centres to attending regional charity galas, ensuring that the crown remained visible and accessible to ordinary citizens across the country. A departure from this established pattern toward a model that favours only high-profile, media-friendly international events can easily be interpreted as a rejection of the hard, unglamorous work of daily monarchy. It signals a potential rewriting of the royal contract, one where the heir to the throne chooses to define his role on his own terms, focusing on large-scale global initiatives while leaving the traditional ribbon-cutting duties to his more distant, harder-working relatives. This quiet withdrawal from the established royal routine has ignited a fierce debate among analysts regarding the true motivations behind such a selective public strategy. While palace representatives often emphasize a modern desire to focus on deep, long-term impact rather than superficial, short-term appearances, critics see something entirely different. They see a concerning trend of absenteeism that threatens to alienate the very public whose support is essential for the long-term survival of the crown. The contrast is made all the more striking by the extraordinary work ethic of an elderly aunt who consistently outpaces the entire family, quietly clocking in hundreds of engagements each year without complaint or desire for media fanfare. This older standard of duty, built on the principle of absolute visibility, stands as a silent critique of a more modern, reserved approach to royal service. As these two distinct philosophies of monarchy collide in the public sphere, the question of what it truly means to be a working royal becomes a central battlefield for the future of the House of Windsor, setting the stage for a deeper revelation of numbers, patterns, and hidden palace dynamics that we will explore as our narrative unfolds. The delicate balance of the British monarchy relies heavily on an unwritten agreement with the public, one that translates privilege into a visible ledger of national service. When that ledger is opened, the raw numbers can create a startling picture that contradicts the carefully polished public relations narrative broadcast from the palace. An intensive analysis of official data from the opening months of the year reveals a stark divergence in the work ethics of the core members of the House of Windsor, igniting a wave of serious scrutiny. Between January 1st and June 15th of this year, a period demanding high visibility due to various shifting dynamics within the institution, the Prince of Wales clocked in a total of just 57 official events. To place this number in context, his elderly father, King Charles, who has been navigating his own significant health vulnerabilities and a demanding schedule of state management, managed 76 public events. Even more striking is the performance of the King's sister, Princess Anne, who secured the top score within the family by attending 100 official engagements during that exact same time frame. This statistical contrast has provided ample ammunition for seasoned commentators and authors who have long analyzed the financial structures and hidden operations of the royal household, suggesting that the future king is increasingly detached from the traditional, localized duties that form the very bedrock of monarchy. This pattern of low public visibility is not a sudden anomaly, but rather the continuation of a well-documented trend that has been developing over several years. During the previous calendar year of 2024, the annual totals painted an equally troubling picture for those who believe the crown must remain constantly visible to justify its place in modern society. Throughout that entire year, Princess Anne completed an astonishing 474 public duties, while King Charles achieved 372 engagements, meaning both individuals averaged well over one official appearance every single day. In sharp contrast, Prince William trailed far behind his older relatives, registering a mere 166 public duties over the same 12-month period, which breaks down to less than one engagement every 2 days. This persistent absenteeism has triggered a fierce internal and external debate about whether the heir to the throne is fulfilling his part of the royal contract. Critics argue that if a local community or charity is looking for a royal figure to cut a ribbon, elevate an event, or bring national attention to a regional cause, they are now highly unlikely to secure the attendance of the Prince of Wales, who seems to have retreated from the everyday fabric of British civic life. The physical absence of the prince from major symbolic events has become increasingly noticeable to both the public and the media, creating moments of palpable tension during traditional family gatherings. A highly discussed example occurred during the traditional Easter service at St. George's Chapel in Windsor in 2025, an occasion where the royal family historically turns out in full force to project an image of unity and stability to the nation. On that day, the absence of senior royals was glaringly obvious, as both William and Kate were entirely missing from the family lineup, leaving a noticeable void that could not be easily hidden by the presence of minor royals. Furthermore, this pattern of selective attendance has extended to international state responsibilities, where the heir would traditionally be expected to step forward and represent the crown on the global stage. When the funeral for former United States President Jimmy Carter took place, an event of major diplomatic and historical significance, King Charles was unable to undertake the long transatlantic journey due to strict medical advice regarding his health. In such a scenario, protocol would dictate that the Prince of Wales fly to the United States to represent the British state. Rumours quickly circulated through palace channels that the king had explicitly requested his son to attend. Yet William allegedly refused the assignment because the date coincided with his wife's 43rd birthday. Ultimately, the palace was forced to dispatch Prince Edward, who sits 14th in the line of succession, to fill the diplomatic gap, while the prince has firmly stated on multiple occasions that his immediate family must always come first, a stance that many find laudable on a personal level. It raises profound institutional questions for an ancient monarchy. Legal experts and royal historians openly wonder whether it is truly sustainable for the immediate heir to the throne to absent himself from the core duties of state to such an extreme degree. This tension is further complicated by allegations that the prince is not entirely averse to hard work, but rather that he chooses to direct his formidable energy away from the public gaze and into areas that yield direct financial control. Since inheriting the massive and highly lucrative Duchy of Cornwall estate from his father, William has reportedly immersed himself deeply in the micromanagement of its vast agricultural, residential, and commercial operations. Reports from inside the estate suggest that the prince generates an ongoing stream of phone calls, text messages, and WhatsApp communications to duchy staff on an almost daily basis, frequently bombarding them with operational queries even during weekends. He has also strictly insisted on receiving a comprehensive weekly report directly from the duchy's secretary, establishing a level of direct managerial oversight that far exceeds the traditional role of a royal landlord. This intense, behind-the-scenes focus on the financial mechanics of the duchy has cast a cynical shadow over the public relations narrative surrounding the prince's modern leadership style. While official palace statements heavily imply that his close personal interest in the estate is entirely altruistic, driven by a desire to implement sustainable farming and build a better world. Independent analysts point to a series of highly pragmatic business decisions that suggest a different motivation. One of the very first major actions taken by William after assuming control was the creation of a specialized investment committee specifically tasked with boosting the overall profitability of the duchy. A close inspection of his appointments to the estate's governing board reveals a structure heavily dominated by prominent property developers and powerful investment bankers, rather than traditional agricultural experts or conservationists. This strategic shift has led critics to argue that while the prince may appear public relations shy when it comes to undertaking the grueling, unglamorous public duties of the crown, he is exceptionally industrious when it comes to managing and expanding his already staggering personal wealth. This characterization of the prince as a selective worker is not unique to British commentators. It has also gained significant traction among international media outlets and global historians. In 2025, prominent academic figures and royal experts speaking to the New York Times openly discussed this precise aspect of William's contemporary public profile. Historians noted that while the prince has historically faced criticism for being somewhat detached from the daily grind of royal engagements, his current strategy appears to involve gravitating almost exclusively toward massive, highly synchronized, and media-friendly international events. This approach allows him to maintain a powerful global brand with a fraction of the actual daily effort required by traditional royal service. Meanwhile, this calculated, modern approach stands in stark opposition to the traditional zeal of King Charles, who has thrown himself into his monarchical duties with an intensity that leaves veteran palace watchers stunned. This frantic pace set by the king is interpreted by some as evidence of a remarkably robust physical recovery, while others view it as the poignant mark of an aging leader who is acutely aware that his remaining time on the throne is inherently limited, prompting him to give everything to the nation while his successor waits in the wings, rewriting the rules of royal engagement according to a completely different set of personal priorities. The internal struggle over royal productivity and the shifting definition of duty occurs against a fascinating backdrop of global public opinion, revealing an ironic twist in how the modern world perceives the House of Windsor. While traditionalists within the United Kingdom frequently dissect the official court circular and criticize the Prince of Wales for his low engagement numbers, the international community, particularly the American public, looks at the situation through an entirely different lens. A comprehensive survey conducted by the prominent research firm YouGov for the Times offered a detailed statistical breakdown of how the key players in this royal drama are viewed across the Atlantic, uncovering an unexpected hierarchy of popularity. According to the data, a substantial 56% of adults in the United States hold a thoroughly positive view of Prince Harry, while 21% express a negative opinion of him. This solid baseline of support highlights the enduring transatlantic appeal of the Duke of Sussex, who made the historic decision to step away from senior royal duties entirely back in 2020. Yet, despite Harry's heavy media presence and his direct relocation to California alongside his wife Meghan Markle, it is his older brother, Prince William, who surprisingly claims the ultimate crown of popularity in the eyes of the American public. The statistical evidence shows that Prince William enjoys an impressive 63% positivity rating in America, contrasted against a remarkably low negative rating of just 10%. This overwhelming margin of approval officially secures his position as the most popular living royal figure among the American demographic, an achievement that stands in sharp contrast to the domestic criticisms leveled against his work ethic. When looking at the broader historical landscape, the survey demonstrated that the most beloved royal figure of all remains the late Princess Diana, who tragically passed away in 1997 but continues to hold an unbreakable grip on the global imagination with a staggering 79% positive rating and a mere 4% negative response. Following closely in second place is the late Queen Elizabeth II, who passed away in 2022 after 7 decades of unyielding service, maintaining a 73% positive and 8% negative ranking. Within this grand historical context, William occupies the 3rd position overall, while Harry follows in 4th. This placement reveals a complex reality where William's calculated, media-friendly strategy of focusing on massive global initiatives appears to be paying massive dividends abroad, shielding his international reputation from the localized disputes regarding his daily attendance at smaller domestic engagements. The deep cultural divide in how individual members of the family are perceived becomes even more pronounced when examining the ratings of the 2 prominent women who hide into the House of Windsor. Prince Harry, despite his controversial exit from institutional life, remains notably more popular among Americans than his sister-in-law, Kate, the Princess of Wales, who secured a 49% positive rating against a 6% negative score. Meanwhile, King Charles himself garnered a 48% positive rating, paired with a significant 27% negative ranking, reflecting the mixed feelings that continue to trail his transition to the throne. However, all of these core figures, including William, Harry, Kate, and Charles, maintain a significantly higher popularity profile than Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex. As the only actual United States citizen included on this extensive survey list, Meghan's standing with her fellow Americans reached a 41% positive rating alongside a 25% negative evaluation. This unexpected drop in popularity suggests that the intense media battles, high-profile interviews, and public divisions that have characterized the post-royal lives of the Sussexes have taken a measurable toll on her brand, even within her home nation, when looking lower down the statistical table. The complexity of public perception deepens further, revealing that even a lower popularity score can be accompanied by an incredibly low negative sentiment. Princess Anne and Prince Edward, both of whom have been widely praised by traditionalists for their relentless work ethics and high volume of public engagements, scored an identical 38% positive rating among the American public. However, their negative numbers remained exceptionally low, with Anne sitting at 6% and Edward at 10%, indicating that while they may not capture the flashy, high-profile headlines of their younger relatives, they command a quiet respect that protects them from widespread public dislike. At the absolute bottom of the global popularity matrix sits Queen Camilla, who found herself tied for the lowest position alongside the thoroughly disgraced Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Camilla registered a 26% positive rating against a troubled 33% negative sentiment, demonstrating that the long historical shadows of the past continue to influence public opinion across generations. regardless of her current dedication to the responsibilities of the Crown. This massive web of public opinion data, paired with the internal palace tensions over official duties, underscores a profound structural transition occurring within the British monarchy. The institution is caught in a historic crossroads between two entirely incompatible operational philosophies. On one side stands the old guard, represented by the tireless examples of King Charles and Princess Anne, who firmly believe that a monarch's survival depends on a relentless physical presence, a constant cycle of local visibility, and a total surrender of personal life to the public calendar. On the other side stands Prince William, who is actively attempting to pioneer a corporate, modernized approach to the heir's role, prioritizing massive international media opportunities and deep personal wealth management over traditional ribbon-cutting expectations. This modern strategy allows the future king to maintain a glittering global reputation and a top-tier popularity score, even while his domestic critics label him as work-shy for pulling back from the everyday obligations of the state, as the Houses of Windsor marches deeper into an uncertain future. This ideological divide will inevitably dictate the long-term survival of the crown itself. The tension between public service and personal preservation is no longer just a private family matter. It is a highly visible struggle played out on a global stage, measured by official court statistics and evaluated by international surveys. Whether William's selective, high-impact approach will successfully future-proof the monarchy or slowly erode the foundational connection between the crown and the